Greetings, everyone. Saturday Short with Saul here. So, today I'm going to cover something that, well, I already covered patriotism. But I'm going to clean up my phrasing a little bit because I feel like when I upload the other video, it may get flagged because I accidentally said a few words, such as the real word for a pew pew, real word for unaliving someone, which I realize since we don't have the freedom of speech anymore, I'm not allowed to say. Um, Patriotism. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really tired of listening to bigots, hate mongers, and narcissists claim to be patriots just because. Actually, I don't even know how they think they're patriots. Like, I don't really get it. Is it because a neo-Nazi leader says, "Hey, I'm a patriot, so anyone who follows me is also a patriot"? So then, like, everyone who follows him is a patriot. Okay. I'm sorry, but a man who has Hitler's autobiography on his nightstand is suspected to unaliving his own wife and then burying her on his golf course in the back nine where no one would ever see her remains or see her, just be able to visit. Like, from what I heard, like, there's not even a marker, it's not even a gravestone. That's not love. That's not love. A man who literally bought his wife from Russia, who was hanging out with Epstein like they were best buds on a regular basis. Yikes. I mean, like, I can't call that man a president. I know too much about him. Like, I knew things about him before he was on The Apprentice, which is why most of you love him so much, because you just loved that show. But, I mean, come on. Like, I think it was, I think it was like an old Playboy interview or something. There was this interview he did, and don't quote me on this. It's not verbatim. I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially exactly what he said. I just can't remember the exact word for word phrases. Um, but basically, somebody was asking him, "So, do you think you would ever run for president?" And he was like, "No, but if I did, I would run Republican because those people are so dumb they'll believe anything I say." Fast forward 20 years later, not even 20 years, actually, probably was about 20 years later, he runs. And who votes for him? He was right. I'll hand it to the man. It's the only honest thing I've ever heard come out of his mouth. The only honest thing. Everything else you can debunk. You can find facts about it, and that's why he doesn't like free media. He doesn't like people's ability to research their own facts. He wants to be the one to tell people what the facts are, just like his followers pushing propaganda on YouTube. They want to be the ones to dictate the narrative with their made up claims. But see, you notice that they don't really have anything. They don't have a leg to stand on. They've got Epstein to deal with, they got Trump to deal with, and not to mention everything else, such as, like, for some reason this was swept under the carpet, but the real culprits behind 9/11. Now, don't tell me that you still believe the old narrative because the FBI debunked it, the NSA, everybody investigated it and came to the same conclusion. The only thing we don't know is exactly who signed the orders to make it happen. Who hired the black budget groups to go in the parking garage and spray it with thermite. But we have the evidence, we have the researchers, we have the scientists, we have the people, the physicists, the having a brain fart here. Keep wanting to say archaeologists, architects, who were like, okay, if the building was hit from that point, the entire building wouldn't have collapsed. There would still be a section remaining. And it's funny how after that happened, we stopped seeing live demolitions of skyscrapers on TV. Anyone born before 2001, everybody remember that? How, like, whenever they would fell a new skyscraper or fell an old skyscraper in Vegas or Seattle or New York, they would film it and it would be like on the news or something because it'd be like an all-inspiring thing. It's kind of cool to watch, right? But then 9/11 happens and we watch the same thing, but literally just a split frame before the first plane kisses, you see a plume shoot out from the bottom of the building. Where'd that plume come from? It clearly looked like something went boom. So what's up with that? And why was that swept under the rug? And, why was the president at the time getting the whisper in his ear acting like, good, Glad to hear everything's according to plan. I mean, like, you can lie and deny all you want, but the thing is, all you can do is just keep hiding the facts, keep hiding the truth, just keep burying it, but it's still there. The people who know. I mean, you can unalive me and try to make it look like I did it to myself and whatever, you know. I won't. I won't. I'm not that kind of person. So if something happens to me, you know why. Now, it really gets me. It really gets me. Because even the boldest claims made by the Republican Party are nothing compared to the facts that are right out there. And I don't even need to go into details because it's all over the media. We all know. Anyone who's with me knows. You know, the Epstein files. You know how the president himself keeps trying to prevent them from coming out. And why is that? Why wouldn't he want it to come out unless he had something to hide? Unless something that was in it was a threat to his presidency. He is the poster child of corruption. It is just, wow. Patriotism. Coming from the son of a man who was caught hanging out with the KKK during the World War II era, was known to support Hitler, and upon those accusations forked over some money to a Jewish cause. Was like, hey, you know, it's all good. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. And his dad, a German immigrant named Friedrich Drumpf from Germany, came over in the early 1900s, dirt poor, and yet somehow left his son rich, and then his son left his son even more rich. How does that happen? How does that happen? How does that happen when even honest, hardworking American businesses starting around the same time hardly had that kind of success rate? Now Trump would just say, oh, my grandpa is a genius. Yeah, okay, Kim Jong-un. I get it. You're just like him. You make up crap about yourself to glorify yourself and, oh, you're just wonderful. You're a complete narcissist. And I know because I've dealt with narcissists. I used to work in a volunteer shelter. Half the people we'd get in were narcissists fresh from prison who had beaten their wives, done things to little kids, robbed people, hurt people, done horrible things. And you know what I heard them all chiming around election time? Who are you going to vote for? Oh, I'm voting for Trump. He's a true American. I'm voting for Trump. One of them had a swastika on his head. Those are the people you got. Patriots? Nah. You ain't a full-blooded American if your family came over desperately on Ellis Island seeking handouts, begging us, please, please, please. Or after World War II saying, oh, no, we weren't the enemies. We were on your side. We're on your side. We're on your side. No. My family came here in 1623. My family fought in the Revolutionary War. My family, one of its members, is among the founding fathers. My family fought in every major conflict, including the Civil War, on the Union side. In World War II, we fought for America. We fought for the greater good. I haven't seen my country go to war for a valid cause since then. Every single war. I've done my digging. I love history. I love digging. And I've done my digging. And I have found that every war since World War II has been nothing but fear-mongering campaigns. Either paranoia, fear, or greed. Who wins? Rich bureaucrats, corporations, defense contractors. Who loses? The average American. And what do they lose? They lose their sons, they lose their fathers, they lose their mothers, their daughters, their loved ones, their futures. And they're brainwashed to thinking that they're fighting for America. I'll tell you what. I've met some pretty dirty ex-Marines. And I mean like just vicious, just monsters of people. Not even human in my opinion. But I've also met a lot of good servicemen. One of my former friends, not a friend anymore, but he was a friend. He was a Marine. He was an MP. Another friend who's Army. I got family who's Army. Now, what I don't get is how we still don't accept this as fact when our own servicemen are coming back and saying the war was a lie. It was BS. We were deceived. We were there for all the wrong reasons. We went there thinking we were fighting for freedom and patriotism, and we weren't. We were told on the media it was for democracy, but democracy was just used as a scapegoat. Funny how Republicans blame democracy as the enemy of the well being of America when democracy is the only thing that ended slavery, that has allowed us to have freedoms, has enacted civil rights. Because even if it's Republicans doing it, they're acting on democratic ideals. But then when a corrupt Republican wants to do something, wants to launch some war, what does he say? What's the famous quote that we see on TV and movies? In the name of democracy. It's for democracy. Funny how when they need an excuse, democracy exists. Democracy is valid. But then when it's opposing them in the White House, in Congress, in the Senate, then it's the enemy. Immature. It's absolutely infantile. Because here's what I've never seen. When Obama was president, I saw one of the most well-spoken, most professional presidents I've seen in my life. Actually, I take that back. The only well-spoken professional president I've seen in my lifetime. Now, Clinton was decent despite what a lot of people say about him. He cheated on his wife, yeah, but you know what? He was also set up. The girl that they were sent in, she was literally paid to do it. It's just like, hey, Bill's got a thing for younger women. Why don't you go in and seduce him? Okay, he found the guy's weakness. He kicked him while he's down, or kicked him until he was down. Good, good for you. And then, we had dirty old Bush. Just that dirty, dirty mofo son of a bee. I hope his dad is burning right now, and I hope he burns. I guarantee you, like, the devil's just waiting. He's got a pineapple ready. He's just gonna shove it right up his keister when he gets down there. I mean, Hitler's already getting it daily. We all know that. If any of your Adam Sandler fans watching, seen Little Nicky. So it's amazing. It's amazing how this goes on and on. But yet, like I said, when Obama was president, Bin Laden was caught. Now, I read the WikiLeaks reports. I read all of it. Well, not all of it, but there was a lot of parts I read where, for example, I read this one exchange between soldiers it was a special forces group. They had actually spotted him, and they were radioing in for orders on how to proceed, and they were told to let him go and observe. And this occurred multiple times where he was spotted and then they were ordered to let him go. Now, what did this do? It helped drag out the war. It helped inflate the defense budget and lost more American lives for a lie. Obama gets in, boom! Within, his first term? Or maybe it was his second term. I forget. It's been a long year for me. Spoke professionally, and he didn't go out of his way to just slander people or do any of the things that Trump does. He didn't try to rile people up. He didn't try to start a civil war. He didn't try to encourage people to march on the Capitol and then blame someone else for it. He didn't do a whole bunch of things and then use the Democratic Party as his scapegoats, even when all the arrows pointed to him. No, Obama didn't do any of that. And I'll be honest. In 2008, when he was running, I was skeptical. Now, why was I skeptical? Because his name was Barack Obama. And I'm like, he doesn't sound very American. But then the guy managed to impress me. And he gained my respect. And to this day, he has my respect. Because I watch Obama speak, and I'm watching a real man. I'm watching a real leader. I'm watching someone who is not spewing BS. Now, do I believe that there's any such thing as a good politician? No. Most of them are, they probably all crooked. But as far as the least crooked goes, I would award that to Obama. And you know what? I love black people. So maybe that's why I like. I have no problem with black people. I don't feel inferior around black people because, I got no issues downstairs that make me feel like I'm small or anything like that. I got friends from straight up from the mother continent, and they're the coolest dudes I've known. They're the coolest ladies I've known. I met a lady last year who was from the area of Mount Kilimanjaro, and she told me all about how beautiful it is, and she was a really pleasant lady to talk to. I've met a lot of immigrants, and they're fun people. Some of them are, I'll dare say it, some of them are more American than any MAGA supporter I've ever encountered. Because they believe in liberty, they believe in peace, they believe in justice. Whereas the MAGA movement, you can easily tell that they're all descendants of the South. They're all descendants of the Confederacy, and they're all descendants of the 1,000 Nazis that came over during Project Paperclip, and who knows how many countless others came over during the war as spies and whatnot. And maybe even after the war, just avoiding persecution. Change their names. And believe it or not, a lot of them were actually paid by the federal government, paid by your tax dollars, land in the Midwest to raise their families on. Bet you didn't know that, huh? I know that because I live in an area surrounded by those families. They're all of German descent, blonde hair, blue eyes, all MAGA supporters, and all have questionable history leading back to World War II. Before that point, it becomes shady. There's no written records of their family being here. I'm sorry, I can't help but laugh because it's just so ridiculous. I mean, oh my god. It's like, it's not funny because it's literally like watching how World War II unfolded. First the Nazi Party pretended, oh, we're just helping everybody, and you're a true patriot to Germany if you stand with us. And what they first start doing, rounding up all the desirables, anyone who was homeless, had any mental illness, physical illness, or anything, and they put them in the camps. And then what came next? Then the other people, the millions of other people that they brought in. And then what happened next? The gas chambers, the smoke. That went on for years. For what, like almost a decade? Before we finally stepped in. And why didn't America step in immediately? Because a good chunk of American citizens actually supported Hitler. You know who those people were? The Proud South, the Proud Boys, the good old boys, the very people that Trump gave a shout out to after Congress failed to impeach him. I don't know how that happened. Well, corruption is actually. I mean, just the Electoral College. I mean, if you have enough money, you can bribe an Electoral College official $3 million to work things in your favor. It's that easy. You can buy the presidency. It's up for sale. So yeah, hey, if you're a rich oligarch and you want to come to America and you want to destroy our country from the inside and become a president, yeah, all you got to do is just pay off the Electoral College officials and you're golden. You know how I know? The numbers are right there. Who won the majority vote in 2016? Not Trump. Who won the majority vote? I'll even say it. Who won the majority vote when Biden was president? I don't think it was Biden either. I think it was Bernie. In fact, no, actually, let's see. I might be getting us mixed up. I forget when Ron Paul was running. Anyhow, when Ron Paul was running, he got the majority vote. When Bernie was running, he got the majority vote. Each time, the guy who wanted the best for the people got the majority vote. The guy who wanted to serve the 1%, who was already rich, already had all the connections, already had millions of dollars in his savings account, already had a Swiss bank account, ended up becoming president. Look at Bush. I mean, he was a disgrace in the military. Nobody liked him. I forget what they called him, but like he didn't even see service. Like he just wrote on the title, oh yeah, I was a serviceman. He didn't serve. And then everyone seems to conveniently forget that he comes from an oil tycoon. He comes from a big oil family, Bush Oil. Like, don't you like ever wonder why his dad was so adamant about going to the Gulf to start a war with them? He wanted to seize their oil assets and control them through his corporation. Now, if you're rich, you know I'm telling the truth because you want to do the same. You just don't want anyone to know that's what you want to do. So you want to push it off into the Democrats and say, oh, no, they're doing it. Meanwhile, you're working behind closed curtains, destroying our country from the inside, and literally trying to make our country look like a mirror example of that movie with Matt Damon, Elysium, where all the rich elites are living in a halo in the sky, Musk's wet dream, and we're all down suffering. That's what the Republican Party wants. And if the Republican Party wins again, I promise you, as an American citizen whose family has been here for 403 years, who has watched this family grow from a baby to a grown adult, I promise you, our nation will fall. We must defend democracy at all costs. That is the most important thing for this nation. Our country is a bipartisanship. We have Republican and Democrats who are supposed to be sharing power, but the Republicans refuse to play fair anymore. They refuse to play ball. They want to be dictators. They want to have all control, and they're trying to knock out the other guy and say, hey, we're going to run it our way, but we're going to run it like this. I'm trying to do the swastika symbol, but yeah, that's not good. That's not good. The Republicans can say, oh, democracy,